Welcome back to the Chapter Athletic Running Podcast. How are you guys today?
I'm good.
Going well, been better, but we're
Been
here.
better. Oh yeah, you're sick. Do you want to run us through that? Because you sounded like you want to talk about that earlier.
Yeah.
Just have a cold.
You just have a cold. It's just been lingering.
Won't go away. So raspy.
Yeah.
So raspy.
So raspy.
That's okay.
It's been taking
People
over
love
your
that.
life. You haven't been running as much.
I know. You're telling me.
Been MIA.
Yeah.
And then you missed our Sunday run as well. I was
did.
excited to see you at 4 a.m. in the morning.
I was excited to see me at 4 a.m, but my daughter was not excited to see me at 8:30 that previous night, losing her mind. So I was like, you know what? These are not compatible situations, and I'm just going to take the win and have a sleep in.
No,
and
absolutely.
Reset.
I was disappointed. I was like, oh.
I would have loved to punish myself, but I just ended up punishing myself.
Yeah, in other
on
ways.
Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
So
I mean, when I hear the kids' stories, it makes me really grateful to be able to get up at.
it's a whole other level, because then you really do have this internal conflict when your alarm goes off. Like, where am I at? Like,
Yeah.
How much sleep have I had? Is it worth doing this?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
Anyway.
as a whole.
I got up
thing.
on Sunday morning with my new child, the Mizuno
Yeah.
2.
Oh, you basically know how I feel then.
So I think I understand what fathership
Yeah.
is like.
Did they also keep you up all night?
No, fortunately. They
You're
did
just
get
so
me out of bed in the
excited.
morning though. So
Yeah.
on the other hand,
Similar love, really.
Yeah. Are we going to touch on them in the podcast?
we'll save it for later.
Okay.
Oh, nice. A little
Like a
teaser.
gear gab thing. Yeah, I love that.
Awesome. So we'll kick off with running headlines and talk about what's been going on in the world of running. And obviously, I think you have to be living under a rock to know, to not realise that it's major marathon season at the
It
moment.
is.
It's all happening.
Have your view pages, I don't know if it's just my algorithm, but all I am seeing is everything from the marathons. London Marathon, my page was like taken over. The energy this year has been absolutely electric. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Yeah, I definitely have. And then I think with the major brands dropping their new shoes all to line up with the majors
Yeah.
as well, it's just shoes, major marathons.
Yeah.
It's blown up.
Like the pop-ups at all the marathons, I think, obviously, and yeah, the brand experiences that we're seeing are obviously creating this such huge excitement around the events. And it's really interesting. I was actually listening to some, journalists talk about why London feels so big this year. And it's obviously always a huge race. And there is a few things that go into that. And apparently it's the biggest charity event. So obviously that's why there's so much noise around it, and it's so excited and I guess emotional as well, particularly for London.
Is that because is that the one that the most entries are from raising money for charity?
Yeah, for charities. Yeah,
Yeah.
and to clarify, when we say about biggest charity race, it's all those entries are mostly charity run, and it's obviously so hard to get into. But just comparatively to something like New York or whatever, it's a very big charity event.
Pretty cool vibes. I hear it's a pretty tough course from what I've seen.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was particularly hot. Probably not for us Australians, but
Probably middle of winter for us.
but they haven't been training. A lot of those runners haven't trained in that heat, and so it was a particularly warm day. So I think people really struggled. So we had Boston, and then we had London following. Obviously, very close races. It was really interesting. London Marathon's also, it was the 45th London Marathon, so big anniversary for it as well, which is an incredible number. And there was also a lot of talk around the women's only race, because there was the fastest women's only race time set by a huge 2 minutes by Tigis Sefa. And it was also interesting because it was kind of put out to be it was going to be a really intense race where there was going to be really close, and that didn't happen at all. And Tigis Sefa absolutely took the crowd by storm, and obviously that's a long time. She was out there for a long time by herself, which is incredible because running at that pace and that speed for that distance takes a lot mentally, and that's where you see runners really side by side almost. But she was out there by herself for a long time, which I think is commendable. And you know, there's a lot of talk about, oh, it wasn't the race that kind of people were set out to be watching. With just one runner out there by themselves, but God, like, good on her, an amazing result for her.
She's amazing. She had the women's world record for several months last year.
Yeah.
When she ran it. And that one, I do remember the pacer with her. I think they had a male pacer for that race, but it's interesting how the pacers are working with the marathons at the moment. So not having pacers at all through the women's one, that's a different beast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
It's crazy to not have anyone pacing you. Like, that takes a lot of the pressure off and kind of removes a lot of the head noise. But yeah, big effort.
But like, you know, I think we all experience that, is when you need those people around you to push you hard in those harder sessions. And I know if I want to do a hard running session, I need people around me and I need someone.
Yeah.
So
you're just not going to push yourself.
No, exactly.
Hard.
So like, could you imagine doing that and experiencing that? And I know you've got loads of eyes watching you, but she didn't need to push that harder in front of those people, really. Like, so good on her for that. So
different type of animal.
Exactly. So also the other thing that I wanted to talk about was Kipchoge was obviously there as well, and he was at the elite press conference, and it was really interesting that he made a statement around the technology that's all coming out, and obviously we all get caught up in and we love to talk about and everything, but he made a really interesting comment around that. First is the fitness, and if you are physically fit and mentally fit, then technology can run with you. But if you are not, there is no way technology can push you. And I think it was a really nice reminder, because actually this technology lends to those elite runners. Probably not going to make a difference for us day-to-day runners, but he really emphasized the importance of your mind and your body, and do the training, and the technology can work with you, but that is not the big thing. And I really love his stripped back mentality. And I guess from what I've seen of his personality, you know, he's a very simple man.
Very stoic.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot about how he, you know, has said that he would like to run to the start line of races. He doesn't want to be taken there. And I just really like his personality that I've kind of seen at these conferences and interviews.
It's a good contrast from Kipchoge there, where, you know, saying that about the technology, and obviously his fitness has been incredible, you know, as the GOAT that he really is, but contrasting that against the most highly technologically run marathon ever, which was his Ineos 159 challenge.
Yes, true.
With the pacers in the specific formation, and then the car with the laser, and then obviously the Alpha Flight prototype.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it. But when he finished that race, he just didn't look that tired. He was still jogging, like hugged his wife and so on, and was just not really that bothered. So
he's just a different person.
Yeah.
Like, so he's running Sydney, isn't he?
He is. Yeah.
It's going to be crazy.
But it is interesting to see. Yeah. And I guess his performance was also commented on, because probably wasn't, you know, I guess where people were expecting him to come. But it was really interesting, because I also heard someone talk about how, yes, he may not be, you know, first to finish or second to finish, but actually he's doing a lot for the sport in terms of culture. And he's kind of this amazing flagship, I guess, runner. And just him being at these events is really important. And it doesn't matter if he's not finishing in the top 5. Actually, he's doing a lot for the sport. And I think that was a really nice comment. I'm really glad someone made that, amongst some of the criticism that's been going around. And just having him at these events is a huge thing. And there's more to it than just your performance.
100%. Just because you can't be the best in the world anymore doesn't mean you're not passionate about it, or that you can't add to the sport as well. So I think it is a very valuable thing to get across.
And look, and I understand the whole thing of, you know, obviously that is someone's elite spot that could then be taken. But there's
But he didn't come dead last.
No, he didn't. He's still doing amazing. But
and you never know. He's probably not trying to finish first there either.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Exactly, because he's got bigger things coming, and, you know, we know he wants to win he does want to win all the majors. He has expressed that. So but interesting. There was a lot of talk going on around those. So I thought that was our running headlines for this.
Fantastic. So into de-influencing running. We're talking myth busting, trying to understand things that confuse a lot of people, that maybe are hard to break down and define. So today I thought would be good is something that used to confuse me a lot was terminology in training for intensities and what does this all mean. There's so many different ways with which like intensity can be tracked. You know, we've got heart rate, we've got lactate, we've got rating perceived exertion, we've got, you know, all of these things. So sometimes the words like tempo or threshold or easy can be like, well, what does that mean in relation to, you know, what I can measure? So I wanted to just have a chat about these things and maybe give the listeners a way that at home they can try and determine where their zones are if they're using, you know, steady or those types of terminology in their training. So I reckon the simple way that we can figure out at home what our zones are is by using our breath rate and intensity. Do you guys ever listen to your breath or like pay much attention to that when you are training?
Not my breath, to be honest. My heart rate, I
rate.
do because, you can just see it on your watch, personally, but I don't ever think.
I mean, the only time I really pay attention is if I think like I can't get enough air into me because I'm dying.
You've got a big cold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with breathing and breathing rate, it actually correlates quite tightly to intensity, particularly the lactate thresholds. So when we sort of start working a bit harder, then we start generating more lactate. This is sort of known as like the first lactate threshold. And at the same time, we also hit what's called like our ventilatory threshold, which means ventilation means breathing. So the breathing will sort of pick up a little bit where it's a little bit more forceful and it increases in its general speed. So from there, then we go to like the second threshold, which people would call like an anaerobic threshold, or when we're working really hard and our breathing starts to get much faster, much more deep, and much harder to control. So with that as the basis, let's go through and just chat about the different things from like easy, steady, tempo, and threshold. So for easy, normally that's in like zone 1 and 2 in a 5-zone model, usually at like a conversational pace. And for most people, their breathing's like at or under around like 150. So I think everyone understands, breathing, you want to be able to have a conversation.
Yep.
Yeah. So I reckon some people can fall into the bit of a pitfall where if they're going too hard here, if the training volume is high, it could lead to some burnout or injury. And going too slow might like inhibit fitness gains. What sort of things do you guys look for when you're running easy? What do you try and
Conversational,
aim for?
definitely. Like I think it helps running with people. So then I can definitely have a conversation,
And relaxed as well. Like I want to feel quite relaxed. Yep. Like I just feel like if I'm running any harder than, like if I'm trying to run hard, I'm more trying to hold myself with more tense.
I know, I do,
Yeah.
Using a few more muscles.
Yeah.
For steady, do you guys use that term much in training? Steady?
Yeah, I'd say steady is like tempo for me, or I don't know if see, this is where it all comes into
exactly.
it, right?
It's always, it gets a bit confusing. So I think the way most people think about steady is that it's sort of like the top of zone 2 into zone 3, like lower zone 3, thinking more like marathon pace with the goal of trying to build like aerobic strength and muscular endurance. The breathing rate is noticeably increased, but it's still very much under control. So it's up a little bit from easy, but it's not really that hard. This is essentially around that ventilatory threshold 1 or like lactate 1.
Yep.
So those few things sort of go together in terms of their
I feel like I can still have a conversation at that I guess pace or that effort, but it's not like all out. Definitely,
Yeah, you haven't lost control of your breathing.
No,
but you're just breathing a bit heavier.
And you can do. It's definitely a bit of an effort to have a conversation. You get like a few words out at a time, then you might need to like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really well. Is that kind of the vibe?
I can't wait for that as a social cut-up. How to find your
tempo. How to find
steady.
I know, it was really good. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so.
Exactly
that's how I do it. Yeah,
what your conversation sounds like in a run, then you found your tempo.
Yeah, that's just me chilled. Yeah,
I've heard you make that noise before.
That was a different noise. That's like a deep groaning. They're very similar, but it's more like a.
Stop. We don't need to.
Not in a sexual way, just in like a effort way.
So moving on from the noises, I want to know what the noise that you make for this next one is in a second. So
okay, interesting. Now we're getting somewhere.
So tempo and threshold, the terms are often interchanged. We're looking at like a heart rate zone 3 and 4, with the top of this training zone being referred to as like lactate 2, which will correlate pretty tightly to ventilatory threshold 2 or anaerobic threshold. So they're the same words that basically mean the same physiological point in intensity.
In my mind, this is like not sprinting, but pushing pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the point where maybe not sprinting, because it still includes tempo. At the top of that, it would be the threshold. So there's still a good space between steady and then like maxing out at the anaerobic threshold. So probably not quite sprinting, but thinking like a 5K pace or something like that.
Yeah.
At the bottom of this zone, I think that's where it gets a bit tricky. At the bottom of this zone, the breathing is like really pretty well controlled, and it's a bit faster than steady, but it's not super intense. And then at the top of threshold is where it gets a bit different physiologically, and that's when the breathing can start to really like get away from us. And
so what noise would you make when you're having a conversation in this zone?
I would just say that my breathing starts to get very heavy towards.
What would it sound like though?
Well, why don't you enlighten us? Go on.
I don't know.
You show me your.
Is that about right? I don't know.
You actually did make that noise.
I made that noise.
One race.
Probably.
It was
you
terrible.
made that noise. Yeah.
Oh, which race was that you did that noise?
The half
Oh.
last year at the Gold Coast. I know a couple of people looking at me like, is that dude okay?
He's broken himself.
So that was.
No, I've just found my tempo.
I found my second ventilatory threshold.
Yeah.
You clearly haven't.
My carbonate system's working very hard to get these hydrogen ions into carbon dioxide and to push them out.
And they would be like,
But if you
cool.
can say that, that's definitely zone 2. That's how you know.
You
can say all
can't get that whole sentence out.
So I think where some people can go wrong a bit in training with the tempo and threshold is every time they see tempo or threshold, they're trying to basically go over that second threshold. So go to the top of that intensity domain and then sort of breach it to the point where the breathing gets really heavy. And so they might do that every week or twice a week. I think there's some research just saying that breaching that threshold and really crossing that barrier multiple times a week does increase like the recovery debt, because it is a lot harder on the body physiologically. And I think where some athletes have done really well is that they're controlling the top of that intensity domain so that they can get more volume in that tempo threshold zone without crossing the barrier across the
that's the whole
threshold.
Norwegian system, right? They're testing their lactate.
Exactly. And I reckon from what I see, some people can definitely get that wrong. I know I've got that wrong before in a big way, creating way too much fatigue unnecessarily. But does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes back to one of the points you made in another episode around load within a load. And that like just because you've got your mileage, if you're running hard within that can look very different on your recovery and your likeliness to get injured compared to, running the same 30Ks in a week or 30Ks in a week easy compared to 30Ks in a week with like intensity and going out at that threshold. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of new runners make, or a lot of people that kind of come to me and asking for advice on how do I get faster or how do I improve, and they're just running the same distance each week and hard, and they're like every run they're like, oh, that was so exhausting.
Yeah, if I didn't PB, I'm wasting my time or something.
Yeah. And like, there's this whole thing around I have to do 5K and I have to feel like spent after, and like that's not going to help you.
Kind of how like you approach yoga and that kind of stuff.
No, that's not the same.
I think as well, just on that, some runners will go out in that first 10 or 15 minutes where their aerobic system hasn't quite turned on yet, then just flogging themselves because they feel great obviously in that first 10 minutes, and then just fighting demons from that point and just not really getting that system sparking.
And that's where you get people I have people asking me, oh, how do I be able to run up to this distance? And it's like, well, you're running too fast. So you slow down. Yeah. No, I like that.
And then is there anything on top of that, like the death zone? What's that, like the final frontier?
Everything up there just be purely anaerobic, creating a lot of stress.
Just sprinting,
pretty much.
Stress fractures, everything.
Yeah. What's the highest you've ever seen your heart rate get to?
180. I'm old, so if I'm pushing over 180, I'm clinically dead. So I probably hit like 183, 184.
Yeah.
I got to 199 a few times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Couldn't get the extra one up for the 200, or no?
Can't do it. But
You're the
yeah, it's-
youngest, Zoe. What's yours?
Mine's. Well, I struggle to get mine pretty high. We've had this conversation before. I think mine just
You're
sits.
just too elite.
No, I don't even think it's that. Like I think it's I don't know. Like even like in races, I don't see it get that high. Like even to
crazy.
190, I've struggled to get to.
Yeah.
Like I think I just have a lower heart rate, but I don't think that necessarily means like I'm better or like it works well for me. I just struggle to push it into that upper limit.
People's hearts have like different sizes relative to their body and different strengths to be able
Small
to
heart.
input. Yours would be a big heart. in
Oh,
the context.
okay.
Yeah, you got a
There we
big
go.
Well,
heart.
like not in a metaphorical sense, but in a literal sense.
Yeah. In a metaphorical sense, quite small.
Just thought I'd
Tiny.
clear it up.
Quite small and hard, like a little rock. But like in an actual literal sense, could be quite big.
I think everybody knows that. Like,
Okay, guys. So with a lot of races coming up, we've got our wellness corner today. I wanted to talk about how to choose a shoe rotation where you can have a shoe for each day of the week that sort of suits the session that we're going to
Speaking
do.
my language.
Yeah.
Speaking my language. We're,
spending my money.
Exactly.
Could we have like two, like a fortnightly rotation? So shoe for every day of the week for 2 weeks? Just
Absolutely,
in like
absolutely.
a tidy 14?
Yeah, I'll allow that. You can just
Okay.
set yourself a little
depth.
roster.
Yeah.
The roster that rotates.
Yeah.
Oh,
A rotating
that is a
roster.
Is it not?
I don't know.
So-
I'm not a rostatician.
So first thing we've got function.
Cut up
No,
across
okay.
episodes. Sorry. Of you just making up words.
Rostatician happens to be a very real word. It's a roster technician. A rostatician.
Roster technician is someone who organises your roster.
A rostatician.
Like,
We're really going to need to settle at some point if rostatician is actually a word.
In essence, it is. If you really think about it.
it works, yeah.
Yeah. Like jogging or whatever it was. It's also a word.
All right. So we've got the 3 F's for choosing a shoe rotation.
Yep.
We've got function.
Oh, no. Can you guess them?
Go for it.
Function.
Yeah.
Function. Fun. And fit.
Fit is one.
Oh.
I like
So
fun, though.
So
We should
function,
have a fun
fit,
one.
and feng shui.
Let's go feel.
Fruitiness.
Let's go feel.
Fruitiness. Oh.
Feel.
Feel.
That's not as fun.
Oh,
Could be.
yeah.
Go on then. So you've got your
Four.
3 F's.
So the 3 F's. Function. So the manufacturer is usually going to describe how they intend the shoe to be used.
Mhm.
So let's not be wearing night vapor flyers on all the easy runs, but I think we've hit that enough.
Okay.
It's
You do
Shock.
you. Don't yuck someone else's yum.
Not like we've got a professional here, but
Yeah.
Couldn't be me. Fit. So different brands have got different shapes. I reckon some of the brands generally tend to be a bit more narrow. So we've got Saucony. I said that right?
Mhm.
We've got Asics.
Hey, good on
Puma,
you.
A nice,
growth.
I'm learning.
Yeah. He's
This is
been
growth.
reading those personal development books.
I have. I'm glad you noticed. I'm
Yeah.
glad you noticed.
No, I'm really proud of you.
Some of the wider fit brands might be Brooks, New Balance, Adidas. Ones that just have a bit more space for the
Is Adidas a
midfoot.
wider fit?
I think it is. I think it is for some of the models.
Okay.
Like get some wider fit.
you know
for
Darcy
sure.
loves a wide fit.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like, wow. Okay. That's gonna get clipped real quick. Real quick.
Too many today. Okay.
Hi, I'm Darcy and I love a wide fit.
No, stop.
I want to do it.
You know.
Do it.
For the clickbait. Does Darcy love a wide fit?
My name's Darcy and I really like a wide fit. Narrow in the middle and then wide.
Oh God.
I think the
We'll never be able to do anything professional.
No.
Just degrades.
Okay.
Why do you need a prop for that? Anyway,
Because he didn't want it taken out of context.
Yeah,
You know what deep fakes can do these?
that's right.
very true. I look forward to seeing technology.
So guys, the other thing with fit is that we don't want too much of the foot hanging off the side of the shoe. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous.
I don't know.
I know that
If
sounds
can-
ridiculous.
I can't maintain myself.
What was that?
I'm going to
That
try.
wasn't even.
I'm going to try, but I can't promise anything at this point.
What did I even say?
Not enough time has passed for you to just be able to launch back into it. Like, it's just, yeah, that's...
I'm so glad.
No,
I was
you
like
can
trying
try.
so hard not to laugh.
I'm just a big man of ratios. Got to have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, ratio is good.
Okay.
No, tell us more.
Okay. So, guys,
She'll get through it. I think you just need to go and she'll just get through it.
we're running out of time, so.
Yeah, I know. That's what we need to... The car's going to run out.
Okay.
Okay, guys. So it sounds obvious, but in terms of the fit, we don't want too much foot hanging off the inside or the outside of the shoe.
That's a really good point.
Something I see all the time, in all seriousness, is so much foot hanging off the inside.
So much.
Really loads up the arch, or the outside of the shoe as well. We want.
I really applaud you.
We don't want to see
for
too
just
much.
soldiering
We
on.
don't want to see too much bulge.
You really don't want
It's
bulge.
important not to have bulge.
Yeah.
No,
You don't want a shoe moose knuckle happening, you know.
The word camel toe comes to mind.
Yeah. I don't know how to recover from this. Like, I just
No.
don't.
I think we just can it all. We just stop.
No, it's
But-
great. It's amazing. So just land the plane, because I'm just going to have to cut this
Yeah.
up as best I can.
My abs hurt.
That's good. Good workout.
Go so fit. It sounds simple, but we don't want too much foot bulging off the inside or the outside of the shoe. I think something I see a lot is that people with foot.
You're supposed to wrap it up. I didn't think you were going to go back into the
Please
fit.
try again. No,
Okay,
no,
okay.
let him
Okay.
land. Okay, let
Okay. I think he's going to land
Okay,
the
it's
plane.
done.
I
It's
didn't
done.
think there was a
No,
It's done. Right. We're
No,
into
no, no,
field.
no. No, please do it. I'm gonna laugh now.
Just think of something tragic.
You guys ready?
Yeah, I'm
With
good.
the last F, it's feel. So the feel is very
I didn't say
individual.
fit.
Well, I moved off fit because I couldn't use the word bulge without a fucking laughing fit.
Okay. Yeah, you can't say bulge. So, okay, what was
Bulge
it?
was
Function,
intentional.
fit, and then feel is now the last one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got function. We've got fit. We can't have too much foot bulging off the inside or the outside of the shoe.
Correct.
And then we've got feel. So it feels very individual for different people. Sometimes people want something that feels nice and soft.
God.
And sometimes people need something that's more firm.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. This is quite individual. We want to know, is the foot secure? We want to know, do you feel uneasy when you're trying to move around? Just so that we can get something that fits those three boxes. I think that's really important. I know I prefer a firmer feel. I want something that's just going to bounce back a little bit more. Something that's too soft might not work for me personally. How do you guys go on the soft versus firm end of the spectrum?
I prefer.
Sally firm, okay, gotcha.
I'm a-
Really?
Where are
Stop.
you? Where are you? Laz?
Firm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I actually am. Like I really enjoy that responsiveness. And I really notice. I think when I first started out running, I was definitely more of like, I need comfort and I need this cushion feel. But I really notice that when I go back to those shoes, I just feel like I'm sinking and there's no responsiveness. So
Yeah, I reckon
Definitely.
you want to hit it and it bounces back. I reckon that's really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, I'm the
Agreed.
same. That's why I'm
and
a
that's
fan
why
of them.
I really like the Bostons because
Yeah.
I really get it in that.
So
Beautiful.
easy or recovery run shoe. We want something that feels simple and easy. That's not going to quite do the work for us. So what's your favorite? My go-to for clients at the moment is probably the Nike Vomero. I think that's been a good solid
Really?
trainer for easy
I
runs.
really wouldn't have thought you would like them.
Yeah, it's quite good. It's quite good. It's pretty simple. The upper's nice. It's wide enough at the midfoot. The foam is pleasant. Even
And
though
they
it's fully
look
slightly,
great.
they look fantastic. It's
I
a cool
want
looking
them
shoe.
now. Now that you've approved them, I
Yeah.
can get them. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, that's on your list. But the Brooks Ghost, I know we've got some Brooks fans in the room. Thanks, Laz.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
We want simple shoe, not going to do the work for us. Not too rocket, not too aggressive. Something simple for the runs. We want to work those calves. We want the feet to get some condition. For the long run, I reckon more amateur runners might be chasing like a basic stability shoe, just going to support them when they're tired. So again, probably something like the Brooks Adrenaline or Hoka Clifton could be good for those people. I think earlier on in the piece. Something to be mindful of, I think, is some soft foams, maybe like some of the ASICS sort of flight foams, especially the ones in like the Nova Blast or Cumulus and Nimbus. They can get quite compressed through the course of a run. So after 40 or 60 minutes, they might not be sort of responding the same way. So I think we've just got to be a bit mindful of foams like that. Even the New Balance Fresh Foam, the 1080, just being mindful of that. If the runner's a bit more experienced and maybe they've got some like efforts in their long run, something that's a bit more advanced with a plate, maybe without a plate, depending on sort of what the personal preference is, could be good. So we've got obviously the ASICS Super Blast, our favorite long run shoe at the moment. The New Balance SC Trainer being like a plated one that's stiff, but it's not too aggressive.
Yep.
I think a lot of people enjoying that shoe.
Nitro 3, Deviate Nitro 3 for me.
Yeah. I was going to say the Magnify or the Mag Max for like a cushion trainer, but I think that Deviate Nitro 3 does see very well in that category too. Speed shoes. I reckon this one's quite interesting, and then again depends on more amateur runners or more experienced runners, but could be plated, could be non-plated. Generally want like a lighter, snappier shoe that just keeps us feeling like we're light and ticking over. For like an intermediate runner, could be the same as their like long run shoe. The Saucony Endorphin Speed 4 has been great. So just got that bit of bouncy foam, not too aggressive, the plastic plate. What do your guys go to at the moment for a speed shoe?
I rotate between Deviate Nitros, Pumas, Boston 12s. I like Super, because I'm currently training for a marathon. I'm doing some speed efforts in between like long runs. So Super Blasts are really working well for me because they are my kind of long run shoe. And I still find they have that responsiveness and that bit of a firmer feel without feeling too cushioned. So yeah, I'm really enjoying those.
Yeah, Supers can be great at that, like tempo-ish sort of efforts and long runs. It's so good.
Yeah, really versatile.
I'm probably a Deviate Nitro 3 actually.
I have been as well recently. I've been really enjoying them.
So good, aren't they?
Yeah.
So glad you guys.
Very natural feeling. And Evo SL to a lesser degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, DN3 is
Boston
for me.
12s are great for intervals, I find as well.
Yeah. They have been good. Now, I think with racing shoes, something that's important is people trying to understand the difference between what they need. So sometimes we need comfort, sometimes we need performance, sort of depending on the runner and maybe their mechanics and what race they're trying to do at what speed. So the highest performing shoes may not be the most comfortable, and I think people might have to ask themselves or get some professional advice or have a look on different content platforms to try and understand, does a 4-hour marathoner maybe need to wear a really light, aggressive shoe like a Vaporfly or an ASICS Metaspeed Sky, for example, or maybe they might be better off in something like an ASICS Super Blast or Mizuno Neo Vista 2. So I think the highest performing shoes at the moment with the research and the way that the elites are wearing things would probably be the Nike Alpha Fly, obviously the Adidas Adios Pro, and then the ASICS Metaspeeds look to be really the top ones at the moment. Maybe more comfortable ones for like a 3:30 to 4-hour marathoner that does have a plate could be with that New Balance Supercomp Elite or the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4. Not necessarily the fastest shoe is going to break records, but they're pretty neutral, stable for the most part, and just help someone pop along. A bit of a wider platform on the bottom, and not too aggressive in the rocker.
Yeah, okay.
That sounds fair. Almost, I'd throw Super Blast 2 into the mix as well, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably could get that done.
What's one ugly shoe that you guys will never stop running in, no matter how uncool it looks?
Oh gosh, I don't buy ugly shoes.
One ugly shoe that you swear by. I don't actually have any ugly shoes, I don't think.
Too vain, both of you.
What ugly shoe? You're the Mizuno one, aren't you?
Mizuno Inspire.
Okay, so moving on to running culture, where we discuss anything that's going on in the running scene. Less headliney, but just fun things that we're seeing going around. And something that I saw that was really cool that I want Australia to bring. Seoul have actually been transforming underutilized subway stations into fun stations, they've been called. And there's a running one. I think there's actually a few running
Seoul,
stations.
as in
Seoul in Korea.
Yeah.
Oh, Seoul. I thought it was like Soul Breads or something. I was
No,
just like, what?
Salt and Korea.
Yeah, wow.
Underutilized subway stations, and they've been transforming them into like little hubs in the city. And there's been a few running ones been popping up, which is really cool. So obviously, I think it's quite a different culture here in Brisbane because we have a small city. But you know, if you live in somewhere like London or something, you might want to run from where you work and in the city, or you know, maybe in Sydney with the run clubs all being in the centre kind of thing. And they've like transformed these underutilized subway stations with lockers and changing rooms and media boards and that display like popular running routes and stuff, which is really cool. And then they have like run clubs going from there and exercise classes
So it's not
and stuff.
from the actual subway, in the actual subway itself. It's just like a hub or whatever, and then
No,
they
is
run
it
above
in the underground subway station? Yeah, so they've like
Oh,
literally
wow.
it's not used, so they've transformed them, and it looks incredible.
That's pretty cool.
So definitely check it
Gonna
out.
be
And
Googling
could
that.
you imagine? Where do you think the little hotspots for Brisbane would be if we had them in Brisbane? I think like
gosh.
obviously Kangaroo Point kind of thing, Newstead.
Definitely Newstead, Tenerife
yeah.
kind of area.
Waterfront Park.
Yeah.
Park.
Yeah, I mean classic. Yeah.
That would be very, very cool.
But the initiative kind of aims to just encourage a healthy and active lifestyle by making running accessible and convenient for Seoul citizens. And I just thought it was a really cool initiative. And I love that because obviously everyone's running at the moment, it just really brings things to life. But is there any other running culture things going around you wanted to discuss?
No, I mean, kind of the topic is Cam's run as well, which we're kind of leading into. I think that's really cool.
A little bit of background.
Oh, sorry. So our mate Cam Flavel, is it Flavel? He's going to be running Sydney to Brisbane, trying to break the fastest known time in about 7 weeks' time.
Yeah.
And it's just been really interesting getting to know the people in the crew. I just think that's the best part about running is these people all just have nothing in common aside from the fact that they love getting out for a run.
Yeah.
And then you just see people gather around a good cause, and I just love that part about running, and I think it's a very unique thing. I mean, people often have common ground with each other and common interests, but there's nothing really the same as running where people just get together and do things just because, I don't know, it's such a supportive and social sport, even though we're talking to guys like Tim Vincent, who it's all, personal at the time when they do the race, but outside of the race, it's a very, very social sport and a very, very cool environment to be involved in. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out over the next few weeks. And then when he does the run, I'm really, really excited to be part of it. So
absolutely. I know he's looking for people to come on board and brands to come on board and sponsorships and help. So if you do have anything to offer, please do let us know. And we'll put you in touch with him. But it is really nice to see a lot of people come together and a lot of people support. And it's so refreshing to see, him set out and say, yes, I want to do this thing, and just everyone kind of band together and offer what they can. And you're helping him from, do you want to run us through what you're helping him with? And
we've essentially been guiding Cam's training and then working with the different professionals, the dietitians and physios, just to keep him all in one piece and prepare him as best we can. Really looking forward to it. We've got sort of Run Clinic, my work, sponsoring the medical supplies sort of part of the equation, and we've got the time off work to go and try and keep him in one piece. Really excited to see what happens for better or for worse. It'll be a great experience. Something that doesn't happen every day. So I'm really excited.
And I'm really excited. I think, it's a different perspective that we'll get to hear from you. And I can't wait for you to come back and share all of the learnings, because there's so much more to this. And I think it's giving you another, avenue of running to explore, which is so exciting.
Sure, it's super exciting.
There could be a documentary.
I've heard.
Whoa, who said that?
It is very exciting.
Yeah. So it's really nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Chapter Athletic. We have so many exciting things coming up. So please, if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, please follow us and be sure to rate the show as well. 5 stars, of course.
Take care of those foot bulges, people.
Catch you next time.